Hello guys, let's start with our module 8, CRUD operations DML. Let's start with the first video of the module, insert, adding new data, inserting multiple rows. From the name of the chapter, you can take out an idea that we're going to learn about CRUD, DML, and the insert command, which helps in adding new data, inserting multiple rows. Fine. So let's start by learning this. So first, let's try to understand why CRUD and DML exists. Okay, so what are these two terminologies, CRUD and DML? Fine. So first, let's begin with CRUD. Okay, has a full form or has a meaning, CRUD meaning. Okay, the meaning of the CRUD is basically CRUD. C stands for create, R stands for read, U stands for update, and D stands for delete. Fine. So these are the four fundamentals operations of any application that we use. Okay, every app you use, like Insta, Amazon, banking apps, etc., is doing CRUD behind the scenes. Okay, summing this thing up, what is CRUD is basically, CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. So from the terminologies of the words, like create, we know create means creating database, creating a table, right? Read means what? Reading a table using select statement and everything. Update means updating the table, right? Or updating the database, rather table, not database, but yeah, deleting the database or the row of the tables and etc. Fine. So CRUD is a very basic base of any application that we use. Even the application you're in watching this video in has this particular things where you can create the account, delete the account, update the account, right? Read the details of the account of your own, right? So we are using these CRUD properties there also. Okay, so that is what CRUD is in very simple terms. Now coming to another terminology named as DML, right? Now DML is what it stands for, data manipulation language. Fine, it stands for data manipulation language and is used to, and what is used, it is used for work with, it is used to work with the data inside the tables, not the structure of the table, right? So if you remember, before we were learning about the structure of the table and etc., right? But now we are working about, we're learning about how we're gonna, update the data inside the tables and work with it, or work with the data inside the tables. So there where this DML comes in. Okay. Now let's try to understand what are the commands used in DML. Okay, and their operational use. So I will write here operation, and here I will write command. Okay, so first operation is add data. Second operation is modify data. Okay, and the third operation is remove data. Now adding data uses what command? Insert command. okay, which we will be learning in this particular chapter. Modify data uses this update command, which we're going to learn in further chapters. Remove data uses the command delete. Again, we will learn this in further chapters. Fine. So basically, we are focusing on the insert command currently. Okay. I hope you understood DML. Now coming back, what is insert? What is the use of this insert command? Okay. It helps in adding new rows or records into a table. That's it. Okay, we created a table, we created a database, right? But we have to insert the data now, right? So this is where this helps in creating the or inserting the data. Okay, so for that, to learn about that, about the syntaxes and everything, let's get back to our MySQL workbench and try to work it out. Okay, so first let me use company DB. Fine, start with that. So before learning the syntax, let me create a table here. Or should I give you the syntax first? So let me give you the syntax first. Okay. Insert syntax. Fine. It starts with insert into, okay. Then we provide the table name. Then we give the column 1 or column name 1, column name 2, and so on. Then we insert the values in the particular columns which we mentioned above, such as such value 1, value 2, and so on. Fine. This is the main and basic syntax for insert command. Okay, so we got the basic command for the insert here. So what I'm gonna do, we'll copy paste this command here and I will create this particular table. Okay, and that's it. So we have the table present here now. Okay, the columns here. Great. Now what we'll do, we'll try to practice this insert command here. Okay, we'll try to practice the insert command. How it goes? It goes like insert into table name which was employees. Okay, then what we will do, we'll write the column names here such as employee ID, then the name of the column, name column, the department column, then salary. Values will be suppose one for the ID, name I will give my name here, and then we have department, let it be tech or IT, and then salary suppose 40. Okay, right. Now let me try to insert the data by clicking on Control plus Enter or Command Enter as a shortcut. Okay, so we can see the data has been entered here, and let's check in. Select star from employees. Okay, see, do we have the data here? Okay, we have the data present here now. So this is what an insertion looks like using the insert command, right? I hope you got the idea here that how we do the insertion. Okay, great. Now we will learn another way of inserting the data. Okay, another way to insert data. This is also same. Okay, what I will do, we'll just copy this, I will paste it here, and I will remove everything, this one, and rather than 1 I will make it 2, and everything will be same, right? So will this work according to you? Let's see. Okay, it says the data got inserted. Very good. Let me check this by selecting a statement. Look, the data got inserted, right? It got inserted, but this way is called as without names, without column names, and it is a very risky scenario, risky way. Okay, and these are basically not recommended in real world projects. Okay, now what are the criteria you should be knowing for this is that works only if order matches exactly, then all columns are filled. Okay, then only it will work. That order has to match, like all the columns names should be there accordingly, okay, in a chronological order which is present. And second, all columns should be filled. You cannot leave out one empty. Suppose if I leave out this empty, suppose if I give it 3, and if I leave out my name here, okay, it will throw an error, right? That is the one more thing you should be keep in mind. So these are some of the workaround you should be knowing before writing this particular command using insert. This is a shorter way, but you should not be doing this. Okay, this was all about the inserting the data. Okay, now let's try to learn about more on insert command. Okay, more on insert command. Let's take the same table and let's take a case here, case 1. Okay, so what if I do like this: insert into employees table with employee ID and then the name of the employee, right? And if I put in values here, value suppose 3, and the name is Hers, no, not Hers, Justine, suppose, and then that's it, right? Okay, and then if I give another value here, suppose finance, the department, okay, what will happen? Let's try. It is throwing error that column count does not match. Look, when you are not giving or providing the column names, it is necessary you write all the names, all the values for that particular table, right? And if you're writing the column names, it should directly match with the values. Okay, suppose if there are 2 column names you have written here, only 2 column values should be there, not 3. That is why it throws an error. So I will write it here as error because more values than columns. Make sense? Great. Now let's go for case 2, which is basically, let me do one thing. Let me cut this and paste it here, and this should be column mismatch error. Now let's come to the case 2, insert partial data. Okay, so meaning that I will just copy this, paste it here, delete this finance. Now we know that how many columns were there. There were around 4 columns, right? These are 4 columns, but here I have given only 2 columns and 2 values, right? So it should not be a syntactical error, right? Okay, it works. But what happens is that when I try to fetch the rows now, it is showing me 3 and Justin, and this department and salary is empty. Now why that is empty? Because we have studied earlier that a default command is there, or default constraint is there, which is used to fill these blanks when we don't insert any values by default manner, right? So that happens. So for this kind of scenarios, those things are used, those constraints are used, right? So what happens is that remaining columns remains null. Okay, great. So this was done. Now let's go on understanding some more things, right? More on insert important concepts. Okay, let's start by understanding insert into, okay, employees table with employee ID. Okay, and then we have the name, then we have the salary, right? Everything is fine here. We have mentioned 3 columns. Till now we got the idea that we have to add 3 values now, right? Suppose for employee ID I am adding ABC, okay, and for name I am adding Ravi. Then for the salary I am adding 50,000. Okay, what's the mistake here? Okay, I have to close this. Now what will the output? I know some might have guessed it correctly, but let's see. It's throwing an error that incorrect integer value ABC for column employee ID at row 1, right? Now there could be, now everyone knows what to do. What you could do, You could either write describe employees, right? If you find these things, what you can do, you can do this, right? Then from here we can get to know that okay, these are the data types. Okay, so you can save yourself from this kind of mistakes. Data type matching is very important. Okay, so it becomes an error because of wrong data type. Okay, makes sense now. I will clear this now. Great. Now let's go and understand second one, which is not null constraint impact. Okay, suppose if column has suppose like this something name varchar 50. Okay, if the column has a name varchar data type as sorry, it should be varchar then 50 and not null as the constraint, then if we try to insert into employees with employee id only, okay, and values 5, earlier what was happening, earlier it was happening that all the rows were becoming null, right? So but if I try now, error because name cannot be null. Very easy, very clear to understand, right? Because we know the concept of constraints now, so I can say I can talk about this now very clearly. Okay, we'll just comment it out or no need, I think. Okay, and we already know about this, right? Default, which I already explained you currently now. If our data type would have been like this, salary int then default with some 30k value, right? And if we have done this, suppose if I'm doing this, right, I will run this and I will remove this, right? Let it be 5. Okay, then what's gonna happen is that by default the salary will become 30k, correct? Because we have studied about this default constraint, right? Default constraint. Okay, and about primary key, there is nothing to worry about primary key, because primary key, we know the properties of primary key. So since we know the properties of primary key, so we won't be doing the mistake of repeating the same primary id again. Rather we would, what we would do, we would make it auto increment. Okay, great. Now coming back to our slides, or and we're going to study about some of the common mistakes. Okay, and I will type out all the mistakes here. So first is missing quotes, meaning suppose values is there, right, with 10, and I just wrote Rahul this way, IT and 50,000. Now this is an issue because name and department are what kind of a string, right? A string. Varchar, char, those are string, right? Secondly, wrong order, which means that suppose if I do insert into employees or suppose table name, and I have a name here and we have employee ID here, right? And if I do values, suppose 1 comma sh hers, so what happens? Wrong order, data type mismatches, correct? Third comes the forgetting column list. Okay, so it breaks when schema changes. So forgetting column list means that you forgot how many columns there were, right? You didn't check the describe table or select table, like create table, anything, right? You didn't saw anything or checked anything, and you added the data and there was no error because everything got filled by default or null. So this is an issue, right? So that is one of the mistakes people do basically. Now this was all about inserting values in the table, right? Single values, we learn about single values, right? Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna learn about inserting in multiple rows. Okay, nothing much complicated, just increase one. Okay, it is just very simple. Inserting, insert multiple rows syntax. Okay, it goes like insert into, what I will do, wait, I will just copy this because it's same only. Copy, and I will paste it here. Okay, for the values, if you follow the structure, it's this way, values. Okay, 1 2 3, then again what I will do, copy, paste, paste, paste. Now this will be row 1, this will be row 2, this will be row 3, and this will be row 4. Okay, don't take it as this will be all column 1 values and this will be column 2 values. Please don't get the mistake of that particular thing. I will just insert these datas, and if I remember till 3 we have the values, right? Then 4, 5 and 6, otherwise it will throw error in employees table, right? We'll run this now. Data has been inserted and select star from employees. Look, the data has been inserted all together. Fine, great. So this is understandable, right? This is clear. Coming back once here, something you should be knowing, that why multiple insert or insert is important. This is a very basic question. I know, I hope you understand this without answering the question, but we'll just let you know that first thing is performance. How one query, it's taken as one query, multiple rows, because one query will take one specific time, right? And faster than multiple single query, because each time every query will be running complete query, right? That's why. Second, reduced network calls. Let me explain you this how. Let me just copy this back here. Okay, suppose if you're doing this, right, multiple times, right? So use one query more efficient, because what happens is that when you fetch the data from somewhere and use the insert query to fill the data in the database, and you're writing the insert commands again and again, it's very much complex and much more memory and space taking. Rather, you have one insert command and it has multiple rows of inserts. Look, it's a very much difference. You have multiple bags in your hand with one item in each. Rather, you have a little bit bigger bag with all the items in it, which is much more easier and efficient. Just take it that way. Okay, and we'll write here instead of this. Okay, and the third one is, and also I'm giving here the real world examples, real world use case. Okay, and the third one is used in, very easy, bulk uploads, data migration, and then comes the initial data sending. Okay, very simple, very straightforward, very easy. Coming back to our SQL. Okay, we understood the syntax. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna learn about more on multiple inserts. Okay, more on multiple inserts. So what we will learn, we will learn rules you must follow. Okay, and look, the way which I am teaching is a bit different. I'm teaching you the syntax, I'm teaching you more on everything, every command and every syntax which you are learning, right? And in that, sometimes I teach you the rules you must be following, the things which are different, which are some of the face cases you should be knowing, right? The mistakes you should be doing. So these are something unique which we don't know and which we don't study and which we learn through reading multiple articles or failing multiple times. So this is a one-stop solution for you people to understand these kind of scenarios. Okay, so let's go with rule 1. which is column count must match. Very important, right? Look here, I pasted this. This will throw an error, right? Why? Because columns are two. You have main name two columns and you're inserting this value and then this values with three values. That's not correct, right? That's one thing. And the rule two is what? Data type must match. So this is same as the insert command, little bit, but you should be knowing all of this. Look, I pasted this. This is an error because the data type is not matching clearly. Then comes the rule three, order consistency. Okay, meaning employee ID means employee ID, not Sneha or the name of the person, right? So you should be following this particular thing. And then comes the last one, which is rule 4, meaning saying constraints apply to each row. Okay, meaning since we have primary key for employee ID, right, and one is already inserted, then you cannot insert one again. It will be a duplicate one. Got it? That's it. So yes, these were some of the important things you should be knowing about. Okay, coming back to our notes, let's try to understand common mistakes for multiple inserts, right? First one is missing commas. Suppose if you have the syntax like this, okay, value 1, value 1, value 2, and so on. And similarly below you have another, right, values val1, val2. So it will throw error because no comma or no comma after first values. Okay, second, extra commas. So these are very common mistakes. Right now it seems easier, but there are people who do this kind of mistakes, so you should be knowing about this. Okay, so we'll just paste here. They give the comma here, then they give the semicolon here at the end. Okay, at the end, extra commas at the last values statement. Okay, you should not give. That will be a issue. Okay, so these are all the common mistakes that people do in multiple insertions. Okay, so this is all about insert, adding new data and inserting multiple rows, and I hope you understood the topic. So guys, let's move to the next topic. Moving on to the next topic, which is insert using select. Okay, so in this particular chapter we are going to understand how we can insert data using the insert command plus using the select command. Okay, basically we will be integrating select command with insert command to insert the data in our table. Okay, so let's begin with that. So till now what we studied, like I will write here that why this concept exists. Why we will use select or insert data using select? Why? We can directly insert, right? But till now, let me type it out much better. But till now, we inserted manual or static values, sorry, right? But this does not happen in real world. In real world, you are not going to write every time insert into table then the values. Every time you are not going to do that. But in real world, what is going to happen is that data often already exists, right? This data already existed and stored somewhere, right, in another table or somewhere else. Okay, what we do, we need to copy data, okay, or we need to migrate the data or backup data, and lastly transform the data. Okay, transformation data is basically done by the data engineers, right? Okay, and that's where when we have to do this kind of stuffs, and that's where insert with select comes in. Okay, let me boil this down for you. Basically what happens in real world, we are not writing the data from scratch and everything, right? We data engineers, what we do, we have a pool of data somewhere, right? We just have to pull the data from somewhere, copy the data from somewhere, take one data from one table to another table, right? So these are all the things which keeps on going on. So that is why we need this concept here, okay, to make our work easier. So now let's try to understand what is insert using select. Okay, let's try to answer this. What is insert using select? It allows us to insert data into a table by selecting data from another table. Okay, so how select is helping us with the help of insert is that it allows us to insert the data into a table by selecting data from another table, right? That is how it is helping us, because suppose there is a already prepared table with the data and you're not allowed to use that particular table. So what you're going to do, you're going to take the data from the particular table, fetch it into your own table, and start the transformation and modification and whatever you want to do with the particular data, right? So this is how it works. So that is why the select comes in play with insert. Okay, so this was the theory which you should be knowing about a little bit. So let's get back to our MySQL workbench and try to learn about the syntax of it. Okay, so this is our database here, and do we have any tables? We have employees table. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do now is that first I'm going to use the database, use company db. Okay, great. Now let's go with the syntax here. It goes like insert with right here, insert with select syntax. Okay, so it goes like insert into target table, basically in the table in which you want to store the data, and you write the column names there, column 2, column 3, and so on. Then you write select column 1, column 2, column 3, and so on from the source table. I would say from source table where condition. Okay, this is how the syntax goes. Okay, to get to this particular example, what I'm going to do is that first I will drop the previous table, drop table employees. Okay, we'll create the table from scratch and put every data there. Okay, so here I have brought down the codes for employees, create table employees backup, and this data I'm going to insert into the employees table. Okay, so we'll run this first. Okay, then I will run this particular create query. That is also done, and I will insert the data into employees table. That is also done, and I will refresh everything. So we have both the tables ready here. Okay, great. Now let me just do this. Done. Creation done. Fine, great. Now if I just do select star from employees, I have this data present in the employees table, and employees backup. Do I have anything? Let me check. Backup. No, I don't have anything there, right? So great. Now how we gonna do or use this particular command? Okay, using insert plus select query. Okay, I want to do insert into employees backup table. Okay, and if I click on employees, I have employee ID present there, right? Employee ID. I want this column names in my targeted, because in my targeted table also have these columns present, right? So employee ID, okay, employee ID, name, department, salary, right? Employee ID, then name, then department, then the salary. Then what I will do, selecting employee ID, name, and listen, the column names could be different, but data type has to be same. Okay. Suppose if in the original table it's name, but in backup table you have kept it as backup name, something like that. That does not matter. Okay. But the chronology, data type, everything should be matching one. From employees table, right? And look, I am not giving here any where condition. Otherwise, I could give a where condition that where salary is greater than this or salary is less than that, and everything, and something like that. Okay. Control enter. Data has been entered here. Let's see. Select employees backup. Look, we have the data here present, right? And similarly for the employees, we have the data as you have seen earlier. Great. So this is done. Now, this was the selecting. Suppose this comes out to be selecting all the columns with data. What if I want to do like copy selected columns? It will be as same as this only. Just copy this, paste it here, and I will just remove salary and department from here. And from here also I will remove these two things. And that's it. Let me run this. And again I will run this. Let's see what had happened. Look, I copied only the names and the IDs, right? So it's coming here. And since it is not a primary key, in the backup table it is not throwing any error. Keep that in mind. Otherwise it would have thrown the error that we already have 1, 2, 3, 4 present in our table. Fine. Makes sense? Case 1, case 2. So this is done, right? Now let's try to take another case with the syntax, case 3, with the where condition which we have not seen till now, correct? Which could be called as conditional insert. Paste this query again here, and I will write where department equals to IT. Okay. What's happening here is that I am copying these things. Okay. Only where the IT is present. So from here we can see Rahul and Priya should only come, right? Okay, it's throwing an error that, okay, wait, let me see. Okay, again I will do successful. I will run the select query where it is. Look, Rahul and Priya with IT have been entered here, right? Make sense now? Okay, so this transformation is done. Let's take another example. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to give you the ways in which the data could be entered. We saw one with the default manner. We saw with less number of columns. The thirdly we saw with the where condition. Now last one comes up to be where we have insert with transformation, which basically data engineers mostly do. Okay, here we are not doing anything special. What we are doing the same thing. We will be adding 5,000 here. We know how we do this, right? 5,000 here, and that's it. Okay, I will run this query. Okay, and then I will run the select query. Look, here every salary after this has been increased by go close. Okay, what did I do? Okay, yeah, you can see everything is there, right? With 5,000 increased, right? Makes sense? Great. Similarly, what you could do, you could just also do, let me take another thing, another case. It just came into my mind. It will be with using expression. Nothing is special here. What I'm going to do here, the name which I'm going to insert, I will just make it all in upper caps, upper. Okay, and I will run this query again, and look here, every names are in caps now. So these are the things you can do with a select statement which you were not able to do with only raw manual insertion of the insert command. Okay, and these are the things which data engineers mostly do when basically. Okay, this is one of their tasks. Now one thing I will write here, just take it as a note. Okay. We have the understanding of insert commands, right? With multiple insertion and have mistakes, what we basically do, and what mistakes we're not supposed to do, and everything, and all those, right? All those things are applicable here. So what I'm going to say that all the rules or mistakes of insert should be followed. Okay, makes sense now? Like column count must match. Let me write it down. Example, column count must match. Okay. Secondly, data type must match. Even the name of the columns are different, but these things should be matching. Column orders should match. Constraints rule still applies in the copied table or in the target table. Okay, I hope this makes sense now. So these are the rules you should be following. Okay, so these are the things which we have learned till now. Okay, now let's go and understand about the common mistakes. Common mistakes. Okay, so I will type out the common mistakes here also, which we basically do using values with select. Okay, example is, suppose we're inserting into employees table, for example. Okay, employees backup, and then we're writing it as values, and again inside this we're writing select star from employees. So this is very, very wrong. Okay, second is column mismatch. I'll fix the font later. Okay, so if you are doing this column mismatch, this is a big issue. Okay, where you're writing incident to employees, putting on two columns but selecting star from employees, so this will of course give an error issue. And third comes the forgetting where condition results in accidental full copy. Okay, now if some doubts might come to you that can we insert from the same table? Yes, we can do that, like select, like insert into target table, select star from the source table, we can do that. Can we insert into the same table? Yeah, inserting into employees table from the employees table, we can just do, just in target and source table write same names, right? And with join also we can do. Since we have not studied about join, I'm not going to discuss on those now. So this is all about insert using select, and I hope you understood the topic. So guys, let's move to the next topic. Moving on to the next topic, which is update, modifying data and conditional updates. So from the heading of the chapter, you can get an idea that we're going to learn about the command update within DML or CRUD, where we're going to understand how we modify the data, and we use conditional statements upon this update command. Okay, so let's move ahead and try to understand this particular topic. First, let's start by understanding why update is important. Okay, till now we understood insert, which helps in adding new data, but in real world data changes constantly. Okay, in real world data changes constantly, correct? Such as salary update, then there could be profit, edits, and etc. Fine. So there is where update comes in, right? So that's where update comes in. Fine. So whenever we have to update the data of the table, then and there the update comes in. Update command in DML. Okay. So if I write it like this, that what is update, it helps in modifying the existing data within the table. Okay. This is what an update is. Fine. So now let's move on to our MySQL workbench to understand the syntax here. Okay. So let me zoom it and syntax. So I will write here update syntax. Fine. It will start with update command. Then we will add a table name as always. Then there is another command set. Okay. Then we write the column 1 equals to the value 1, comma. There are multiples. Then column 2 equals to value 2. Okay. Where condition. Okay. So where conditions is very much important while we use the update command, because if you don't use a update condition, sorry, where condition or where clause, all the data, respective or irrespective of what it should be got, whether it should get updated or not, everything will get updated, right? Or it might not also get updated. So there both of the scenarios could be there. So that is why where condition is must. You should always use it. And as you can see, update table name, set column 1 equals to the value 1, whatever the value is you want to give there should be present there. Fine. So let me write down these things also, which I said already. If you skip where, all rows get updated. Okay, very important. So let me do one thing. I will set up the table. We'll bring back the query here. I will set up the table. Okay. Okay. So this is the table creation script. Okay. I'm creating an employees table, and you can see the data types and the columns. These are all common as usual. And I will just refresh this, and we have the employees table present here, and I will insert this data in this particular table. So that is also done. Fine. Now we'll keep it as it is. Let's scroll back. We'll click here and we'll check whether we have the data or not. Inserted. Yeah, we have the data inserted. Great. Okay. So let's try to look into the practical implementation of this particular query, right? So let's start with the case 1. I will go with case. It will be easier for you to distinguish everything. Update single row. Fine. So query was update command, then the table name, which is employees, then set command, then column name, which is salary. I want the salary to be 70,000, where employee ID is 1. Now before that, let me just do one thing. Okay. 70,000 where employee ID is 1, right? So this Rahul, it has the 50,000 salary currently. And now I will run this particular query, and it got updated. I will run this select query again. We can see that Rahul's salary has been increased by 20,000 to 70,000. Fine, makes sense. Great. So this is the basic implementation of the query. Now let's take the case 2 when you want to do multiple rows, right? Update multiple rows. As we see earlier in the syntax, I was giving comma after a new column or a new column after a new column every time, right? So update employees set department equals to management, right? Management. I hope the spelling is correct. Where And also see the structure I'm writing the query, right? Where salary is 80k, 80,000, and where employee ID is 2. Fine. And why it is showing a red line here? Because I forgot to give the comma. Now it's 100% correct. Control enter and it's updated. Again, I will run this select query. You can see it has been changed to management now. Fine. We can take another example. Since, okay, it's mistake. Update multiple columns, not rows, sorry. Because why multiple columns? Because this department is a column name and a salary is a column name, first thing. Second, there is no department as management, right? So I'm putting it as management. Where is employee ID 2, right? So two columns are getting updated here, not multiple rows, because employee ID 2 is only once present in the complete bunch of rows. If 10,000 rows are there, employee ID is only 2, and there I am updating 3 columns here, right? That is why update multiple columns. By mistake I wrote rows here. Okay, now let's come back down. Let's take as case 3. It will be update multiple rows. Okay, here I will just do update employees table and then set the salary equals to, look, salary plus 5,000. Okay, now I will give here where department equals to IT. Now look, it's right in multiple rows because it is not a primary key or a candidate key or any kind of a key which distinguishes everything, right? So that is why multiple rows will get affected. Here in this case, 2 rows will get affected. Fine. It's throwing an error. It's saying, yeah, we're using a safe mode and try to update a table without aware that uses a key column. So this error is thrown because of the safety lock is on, so it doesn't allow us to delete anything without a where clause with a key. Okay, so I will just run this, try to run this particular query, and let's see if it disables this. Okay, and again I will, now it worked, right? So I disabled it temporarily so that we can have a look into it. Now I will come back and select the query, and we can see that salary has been increased for every department by 5,000 each. Makes sense now? Great. What if, suppose case 4, update without where clause, where I will write this. Okay, update employees set salary equals to 1 lakh, right? Affected. Look, now everyone has 1 lakh salary, which is not possible and which is not true. So this is not recommended at all. Okay, so there is no more on update. Actually, this is what update is. Usually I used to teach or used to explain, give more on everything, right? Currently does not have anything which I can say more on update. Yeah, there are some advanced logics which could be understand only when we learn few of the more things in upcoming chapters or modules. Fine. Like updates are basically also used with nested queries, joins, and etc. Right? So we haven't studied that at all till now. So I cannot teach you that because it will not make any sense. But you don't have to worry about those things now. Now let's come back and try to understand or learn conditional updates. Okay, what is conditional updates? We'll just write few words here and you will get to know what it is. Okay, using keywords like and, or, right? And, or, let me write it separately. Or, third, in, fourth would be bit, between, using case statements. Since we have not studied about case statements, but I will give you case, how we write case statement in conditional, so you can have the idea of it. Also using such as things like greater than this, less than this, and not equals to, or which is also written as this way, right? So these are the things which we use with the in update query with where clause to have a conditional updates. Fine. I could also have put it this thing in this update part only, but I wanted to make it a separate one, so you can have a distinction between both of them. Okay. And since we know about all of these things, what I will do, we'll directly go into our this query part here and open a new one, conditional updates. Okay. There is no syntax as such, but I will just write it this way. Suppose I want to update with using and. Okay. I want to update employees, and before that I have to do one more thing. Actually, I have to drop the employees table once. Because I want the table to be reset. So what I will do, just run this, and I will run this insert query again, and we have the data. Let's check. So we have the data, so we'll come back here and we'll continue. So update employees, set the salary equals to salary plus 3000, where department IT and salary, whoever salary is less than 60,000. Got it? Before that, let's see whose salary is below 60,000. These three rows, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So query is pretty simple, right? We just added and here with another condition, and which we already have studied before. So we'll run this query, and we'll have a select statement here. Look, all the salary got increased by 3,000, where these two salaries basically, or this one actually, because the department is IT, right? So 53,000. Makes sense now? Now let's go and use or. I will just copy this, paste it here, make it or, and rather than salary less than this and that, we'll just make it as department as finance, and this department let it be HR. And let me update this also. Make it as support. So what's happening here is that wherever the department is HR or finance, please make it as support, right? So basically these two rows would get updated. Okay, look, it got updated, these two rows, right? Now let's use in. Okay, we'll copy this from here, paste it here. I'm increasing the salary by 2,000, suppose, where employee ID is 1 or 3. Okay, and if I run this again, look, ID 1 and 3 got updated again with 2,000. Makes sense now? It was 55 earlier, it was 53 earlier. Now let's use between. So paste it here, increasing 1,000, where salary is between 40 and. Okay, updated between inclusive 40 and 60 are inclusive, we know already. And this one, if you do that, look, I guess this should update, get update, this should get update, everything got update actually. Everything was between 40 and 60, right? So that's a good thing. Okay. Now moving ahead to this case, right? And if you think about why I won't be giving the example of this greater than, less than, equals to, and not equal to, because these are just, rather than using and, you could have used this, right? So that will be a extra thing which I want you to do. Okay, use this one. And before going ahead, what I will do, I just want to give some important things here. First thing, give the heading here. Rules you must follow. Okay. So according to me, suppose let's take the rule one. Always check with select first. Okay, before updating anything, and then run update. Please do every time do this, otherwise your assumption might be wrong or something like that might happen. And then comes the where condition must be always, I will write it as always correct, because if once it updated and if you cannot roll back, then it's, that's why. Then comes the data types must watch, always keep in data type before updating the column value. Rule 4, if constraints are applied or not. Really don't update the columns or the rows which comes under any kind of a constraint, such as, not such as, but basically primary key, we don't update this. Unique, we don't update this. Not null, we don't update this. Usually we don't do this. Okay, so keep that in mind. These are the 4 rules you must follow. These are very basic and very straightforward rules. Okay, along with this, I also want to give you the common mistakes. Okay, so common mistakes is, first thing, forgetting where wrong condition, updating wrong column, updating all rows accidentally. Got it? Basic, very basic. So nothing complex here. As you can see here, I'm not trying to make anything complex here. So these are the things you must follow, and these are the mistakes which is you should be avoiding. And we have studied all the syntaxes here. Now I want to give you or teach you about the within the conditional updates using a case statement, kind of a case statement, or using case within update with when. Okay, so I will give a heading here. Conditional updates. Okay, with case when. And mind you, this is very important. Fine. So new query. We'll directly dive into the syntax here. Syntax, conditional updates with case when. Okay, so it will be like update, and we'll write the table name here, set column equals to case. If you remember previously, for column equals to the value, right, updated value, but rather here we have some cases. This is syntax of case statement. Okay, usually case statement, we are including this with the update one. Usually a case statement is another independent topic which is called case statement and case expression, which we will study. Okay, but this is important, very easy. When condition, okay, then value 1. So if this is the condition, like an if else statement present in the programming languages, you can take it this as that way. When And you can also see no comma is required for multiple lines. Then value 2, else value 3. Then we end it. Very easy. Update table name, set column, then value, then where condition we used to give. But here you can see that no where condition is being used. It's like update table name, set the column, and after the assignment operator, putting the case statements there, that when the case is this, do this. If the case is this, do this. Okay. Let's take an example here. Make it as update. Suppose update employees table, and I want to set the salary as case when department is IT, suppose, then salary should be 1.1 times. Okay. But when department is HR, then salary should be 1.05 times. Okay. Else let the salary be whatever it is. Basically ignore it. End. Okay. Very simple. We'll run this. It got updated. Okay. Now we'll just run a select query here. Select star from employees. Look, IT got 61,600 and IT got 67,100. Since we don't have HR here, so it did not got modified. Look, support is still as it was previously. When compare it from here, 656 became 61 something, right? So it was that simple. And similarly, you can do another type, like suppose if I just copy this and let it be case 1, something like that. Update based on salary. Okay, let's then there is suppose case 2 conditional column update. Okay, we'll just paste this here, and the department is IT. I want the department to be technology. Okay, but the department is HR. I want it to be human resource. Okay, it's throwing an error. Okay, yeah, because it should be department on salary, and this should also be department. My bad. Successfully ran. I will run the select statement from here. We can see that it's technology now. Great. Also, if you want, you can do one more thing. I will copy this. I'm just giving you different ways. Okay. Suppose I'm giving here case 3, I think. Okay. With case with where. Okay. Paste it. And after this, I will say where IT, right? Since I don't have HR, please ignore that. So I will be writing here where salary is greater than 65,000. Okay. So the last row should get updated. And we'll just run this also. Look, actually, I forgot to do one thing. Look, it ran basically, but what I wanted is that I wanted that IT to be technology first. Okay, I want it to be technology first. Okay, and we run this query again to check the difference. Basically, wait. Okay, got it. Actually, the mistake here is what I'm doing. Let me remove this. We don't have HR, so actually there is no IT anymore, right? So that's why it's showing the error. We'll run this again, and I will run this again. Now it's become technology first. The salary is more than 65,000. Okay. So in real world scenarios, this case statement is basically used for performance based bonus, example, data cleaning, then status update. So look, it was very easy, right? Syntaxes are very easy. You should be knowing. And every time I say you, if you know the syntax and if you know some of the ways of writing that particular syntax, just try to do the experiment. What if I write it this way? What if within the case statement I write when condition with and in or and logical operations and all those, right? You should keep on hunting those things, then the concept and the doubt becomes clear in the interview. Whenever they say you something or ask you something, you will be knowing it because you have seen the example by doing it yourself. So please follow those things. Okay. So it was a very important topic which people usually skip in their lectures of using a case with update. So please focus on this, and there is no other thing more of this. So we'll just write here that very important to know. Okay, I will just write this. So this is all about update, modifying data and conditional updates. And I hope you understood the topic. So guys, let's move to the next topic. Moving on to the next topic, which is delete, removing data. So since we studied about drop, right? Dropping the table, truncating the table, right? Everything we studied. Now we are going to study about deleting the rows in the table, deleting the data of the table, right? Since this also comes in a DML and CRUD operations, so let's try to understand this particular thing. Okay. So till now, we have understood insert and update, right? But now, what happens when the data gets wrongly entered? Old data needs a cleanup, right? After 5 years of data, we don't need after anything after 5 years, right? Temporary data must be removed, which is not anymore required, right? So that's where the delete comes in. Okay, I hope you're getting this point. So let me just write here. What is delete? Okay, delete is used to remove existing rows from a table. Okay, that's it. Single row, multiple rows, rows on where conditions and etc. are done with the help of delete. Now let's get back to our SQL and try to understand the syntax. Okay, and syntax is very simple for this. Delete syntax. It starts with the delete keyword, delete from, of course, which table, right, along with the where condition. Okay, and here also same as the update. If you skip where, all rows get deleted. Okay, so keep this in mind that every time use the where condition if necessary. There could be few of the cases where you need to delete all the data from a particular table. That is a different scenario, which is very in real world it is very less, but yeah, then you don't need any where condition, but there should be where condition every and each time. Okay, now since we already have employees table here, I think, okay, we don't have. So what I will do, I will just create an employees table here and insert some sample data. Okay, okay, so I pasted this create and insert queries here, and I will try to run this one by one. Table creation is completed, insertion is also completed. Good. Now let's try to use the command. Okay, so we will try with suppose case 1, which is deleting one row at a time. At a time or deleting one row. Okay, that's it. So I will write delete from employees table where employee ID is 1, and before that let me just run a select query, select star from employees table. Look, in ID1 we have this row. Okay, please keep this in mind, and I will just run this query now. Success. Again I will run the select query. Look, the data has been removed. Correct. Case 2, deleting multiple rows. This is very common. So delete from employees where department is equals to IT, right? So since we have only one IT, what I will do, just remove this. Wait a second. I need this data. I should show it properly. Okay, and I will do undo now and run the query again. Okay, 1 2 3 4. Great. Now I will run this. So it has deleted everything. So look, we have only 2 rows present because other 2 rows were having the department as IT. Now again, what I will do, we'll remove this. Okay, we'll insert the data again and select and check again. Great. Now I'll do undo. Come back here. Now case 3. Delete without where. Okay. So what will happen? Delete from employees. That's it. Now if I just do select query, everything is gone. Okay. So since everything is deleted, I will insert everything again. Very simple, very easy. And I will run this query. Everything is fine. Great. So this is all done, right? This is all about delete command. Now, very important thing. Delete, or I would say it as conditional delete. Okay. Yeah, that the one which we studied in update 1. Okay. Using and. Same thing. We'll just do delete from employees table where department is IT and salary is greater than 50,000. Okay. If I run this query, and again I have to run the select statement, select star from employees. Look, one row got deleted because of the condition for that particular row was true. Simple as that, right? Then or copy this, paste, make it or, and department is finance. Okay, it's throwing an error because I should have given semicolon here. Again run. It's done, right? Look, finance is deleted. Now only HR is left. Okay, so what I will do, I will just add the data again. I will just remove the HR from here and we'll run this query again because we need data to practice, right? So it's there. Let's run this. Okay, great. Now we will go with, suppose using in, we'll go like delete data from employees where employee ID in 2,3. And before running this, let me write one more between. Okay, between goes like delete from employees where salary between is 4,000, 40,000 and 50,000. Okay, I will run both of them all together. Let's see what happens. I will run this. Successfully ran. Okay, here it says anything between 40 and 50 and 50 is included, so hopefully this one will get deleted. Yes, that got deleted, right? So only one row is left. So this was more on conditionals with delete, and in advanced concept again it's similar as the update, using subqueries with the join. So when we'll study those things, then during that period we will understand this more. Okay, coming back to the slides. Some of the important concepts you should be knowing. Okay, important concepts. Okay, first is delete does not remove table. Okay, structure, rather only removes data. Table still exists. Fine. If constraints are applied, so if you remember when we studied about foreign key may block delete. Okay, example, parent row cannot be deleted if child exists. Got it? The most common one. Okay, and there is another concept. These last 2 points are basically from the foreign key. Okay, I want you to go through that chapter which we already studied, so it will be much more easier for you to understand this now. Cascade. So this says that automatically deletes related child rows. Okay, fine. Now moving ahead, let's look into the common mistakes. So what are the common mistakes? First is forgetting where. Second, wrong condition. Third, deleting all rows accidentally. Fourth, not checking dependencies, which is foreign key basically. Okay, so these are the only common mistakes people do. Okay, so I hope you understood this topic, delete and the syntax of it. It was pretty easy and straightforward, right? There was nothing much more to explain here. So this is all about delete, removing data, and I hope you understood the topic. So guys, let's move to the next topic. Moving on to the next topic, which is delete versus truncate versus drop. So since we have the knowledge of drop and truncate from the previous chapters and delete from the last video, it will be easier for us to take and decide the difference between three of them. What is the difference? Delete. What is the difference between delete, truncate, and drop? Okay. So let's begin with it. First thing, why this topic is important, right? Why we need to study the difference between all three of them, even though all three of them are used to remove data, but they behave completely differently. Fine. Let's try to understand. One removes rows, one clears entire table fast, one deletes the table itself. So this is a question to you. Which one deletes the table itself? Drop. Which one clears the entire table fast? Truncate. One removes rows, delete. Right? This is basically the most common interview question, and you should be knowing this because this is a very basic thing and you should be knowing this. So we'll write here as very important interview question. Fine. So what I'm going to do is that first let's try to understand one by one again by doing a kind of a revision thing. Okay, if we go with delete, okay, what it does? First thing, row by row deletion is done. Can use where can be rolled back, very important, okay, with transaction. We will learn about these transactions, transaction control language, and slower for large data. Fine. Truncate. What it does. First thing it does is that removes all rows instantly. Okay. Very fast. Very fast. Cannot use where with it. Resets identity meaning auto increment 1. Auto increment means basically if I delete 5 rows, suppose 1 2 3 4 5, then the sixth row will be starting from the 1 because all of the 5 rows have been deleted. That is what means reset identity. And cannot be, or I can write cannot roll back in most DBs. Okay. Important thing to remember here, point is basically structure remains in both of the things. Sorry, in both of the commands, structure remains. Okay. Only data is removed. Fine. Coming to drop, what it does, okay, deletes the entire table permanently. Both data plus structure is deleted. Fine. Cannot roll back and freeze memory. Okay. So these are the very important points you should be knowing about them. Okay. Now I will just give a very deep comparison table here. Okay, so this is a table I've just copy pasted here, and this can become a gold mine for you to do a deep comparison revision. Fine, we'll just write it here. Deep comparison table. Okay, this will help you a lot. So if you can see here, delete has like type is DML and truncate is DDL, the definition language, and drop is also DDL, right? But if you can see where clause is used to delete but not with truncate and drop. Delete specific rows, yes. Delete command do that. And but truncate and drop does not do that. Delete all rows, yes, without where clause. Okay, and truncate and drop, yes. Delete the structure, no. But truncate is also no, but only drop is yes. So you can just go with this with a good revision, and this will help you a lot. So this was all about the comparison between all of those three. Since the queries and the structure, since the queries and the syntax I have already taught before, just you can use that and do the things, right? So this is all about delete versus truncate versus drop, and I hope you understood the topic. So guys, let's move to the next topic. Moving on to the next topic, which is merge and UPSERT concepts. So this comes out to be an additional topic along with all the topics under DML and CRUD operations. And this is the favorite topic for data engineers because this comes into play in their everyday life and coding practices, right? So this is one of the things which is not taught in other SQL courses because they are not paying attention to it. So I thought of adding this concept in our DML chapter itself so that you can have the understanding of how data engineer play with the data. So let's start with the topic. Why do we need UPSERT? Okay, why do we need this first thing? Okay, but till now what we have learned about insert command and update command, right? Adds new data, modify the data. We know about these things, right? But what is the real world problem? Real world problem is that suppose a new employee record comes from an application or an API to you, okay, but we don't know that whether the employee already exists in the database or it is a completely new employee coming to the database record. Fine. Now let me try to explain you with an example. Okay. Example. Suppose uh, employee ID equals to 101. Fine. If employee exists, right, we can update salary. Fine. If employee is new, basically new record has been entered, insert new employee. Fine. So this is what a problem which is solved with the help of UPSERT. Now you might be thinking that what is UPSERT, right? uh, that does not make a sense, right? UPSERT, it's not a word, right? Yes, UPSERT is not a word. UPSERT is made by joining two words. Okay. UPSERT is made by joining two words which are update plus insert. So that what they did, they took the up of the update and cert of the insert, and that's how the upsert word came into play. So this is a very important thing a data engineer play in their daily life, because you just cannot do it individually all the times, right? You have the insert command separately, you have the update command separately, we'll check everything using the if else conditions and everyone, all those things, right? So this becomes very difficult and a lot of work has to be done, right? So that's how the upsert comes in play. And I will request you to not to miss this particular topic, because this is where, if you're trying to be a data engineer along with all the SQL, this is the one of the key factors you should be knowing, right? This stands you out. Now, continuing, since I told you about the upsert comes from the update and insert, and I also helped you understand with an example that what update does and what insert does, right? And what the scenario behind this, then why should we use and when should we use. So let's get back to our MySQL workbench and let's try to look at the syntax here. Okay. Before going to the syntax, let's come back here. And since this is MySQL focus course, right? So let me just do one thing here. Upsert in MySQL. Okay. So how we write upsert kind of a thing in MySQL? We follow this on duplicate key update. Okay. Have this in mind. Now, but a very important thing you should be knowing. Let me just type that thing out. You know, upsert in MySQL on duplicate key update kind of a keyword is being used here. But a very important thing you should be knowing, very important, or requirement. Okay. First, it says that upsert. It is that upsert works only when table has primary key or a unique key, because MySQL or any SQL, okay, not only MySQL but all the SQLs must detect, is this row duplicate or not. Because if the row is not duplicate, you won't be able to update the scenario, right? Suppose if ID1 is present already and ID1 comes again with the same details, you're not supposed to append it. You're supposed to update in the concept of upsert. Okay. So though I have written here MySQL because we are most focused on MySQL currently in this particular course. So, but that's the thing, right? That's global thing. So this is a very important thing you should keep in mind. You need a primary or a unique key to identify the rows uniquely, basically. Okay. Coming back here, uh, let me let's see the example here. Use company DB. Okay. Okay, that's done. Let me check what table do I have here. It contains it contains four things. No worries. Let me do one thing. Let me create another table. Let me drop this table. Okay. Create table employees employee ID. It is an integer. It is a primary key. Name varchar 50. Salary and okay. Okay, the table has been created. Now we'll insert few data here. I have pasted this query here for insertion. So this is also done. And okay, now what I will do, select staff from employees. Okay, so we have two rows of data. Fine. Got it. Now let's take the scenarios. Normal, insert. Okay. How do we insert normally? Insert into table name, right? Then we put the values there that it is 3. The names could be Neha and sorry, name would be Neha. Then salary will be suppose 55k, right? And I will just hit the enter and it will get entered in this particular table, right? Now the problem without UPSERT, okay? Problem without UPSERT. Suppose if I try to copy this, okay, paste it here, make it 1 and make it Rahul, scroll up Rahul 1, okay, fine. And suppose I am thinking of to updating Rahul's salary, okay, and I don't have any idea whether that particular table has the details of Rahul with particular ID or not, okay. I'm just blank person who is doing this. We'll try to hit this and it will throw an error that duplicate entry for 1 for employees primary because ID 1 already exists, okay. It will throw the error because employee ID 1 already exists. Correct? Makes sense now? Great. Now you have the understanding of the problem. Now let's look at the syntax here. Let me zoom a bit. Okay. Syntax is insert into table name. Okay. Then columns. As we know, the insert command. Values. Then values. Very easy. We know about this syntax already, right? From the insert chapter. But the add-on is on duplicate duplicate my bad duplicate key update column equals to value. Okay, this was the add-on. So to understand this, let's take this example again. I know that I have to insert into employees table, okay, and I know the column names by using the describe command or describe create command to understand the structure of the table along with the column names, right? and salary. What do you think what describe means? This employees. This will give me all the column names present with the data type. Okay, by doing this, I can get the structure of the table. In values, I'm going to put one Rahul, then there is some salary. So here I'm trying to update the salary of the Rahul. Okay, I will make this 60 and salary. Now you might be thinking that how I might be knowing that whether we are updating salary or what we are doing. Look, when the data flows to you, right, and you have been told that, look, uh, there are some like suppose you fetched 100 rows, right, and when you try to enter those rows in the database, the one which are not duplicate will get entered automatically. The one which are duplicate rows will throw error, correct? And when it will throw error, you're gonna go and check that, okay, if those are duplicate, that means they have to update something, right? So when you come to know that you have to update particular column, then you're gonna do this way. Okay, now if I just control enter it, it's updated, and control enter here, and Rahul is 60K now. Make sense? Now similarly, upsert with new record. If there is a new record to be added, okay, we don't need this. Let it be 4. Let it be Jane. Okay, let me write here that syntax for upsert. Now these are the queries that stands you out even in the interview when you try to explain something to them. Okay, now look, I have added a new record. Okay, and if I go up and try to run this query, the new record has been added because it was not there. Okay, great. Now this is the basic understanding of the uh, upsert. Now what I'm going to do, let me create a new query, and I'm going to write here more on upsert. Now till now what we are doing, we were just using this command, right? Now here there could be a doubt that every time I have to change the value for whatever the thing is, right? So rather than that, what if it becomes a dynamic scenario? Okay, so dynamic column update. So rather than doing this, what I could do is, suppose column is there, values, I will just make it as values and salary. Oh, sorry, the column. Now you don't have to type it explicitly again and again. Meaning, if I just paste it here, what I can do, I can just come here and this one, right? So I will just copy this, come here, and I will paste it here. Let's take this example itself. Since I was updating salary, so what I will do, values and salary, okay, and make it as 7. Now look, now I don't have to worry about the columns values to be entered here. So if there are multiple column values and multiple rows, I don't have to worry. I will just write the column name here with the value. Since I might be knowing that from the data flow that there would be multiple common rows and IDs present, and the salary and name columns might be updated. So this is a scenario you can use. If I run it, okay, okay, this is a warning saying that values will be okay, will be depreciated in the future release in MySQL. But let's see, did it work or not? It worked. It was just a warning, don't worry about that, but it worked. right? So it makes our working scenario much more easier. Going back to our sheet, let's create here and try to understand common mistakes now. I hope you understood the coding part. Common mistakes. First mistake is no primary key. On duplicate key update won't work properly because we need the primary key. It's the criteria of using an UPSERT, right? Since we discussed earlier, wrong duplicate column selection. Okay, by chance if you select a wrong column to be updated and it gets updated wrongly, so that's a issue. Then comes the forgetting update part. Okay, so basically when you're trying to write this, right, just try and you forgot to write update, forgot update, then it's an issue. Okay, so these are the few mistakes people do, and I want you not to do these mistakes because since you already know now. Okay, now we understood the UPSERT concept, right? I hope I was able to make you understand how UPSERT works and how data engineer use this most of the time. Now let's try to understand merge. Okay, now before moving ahead, I wanted to just explain you in a short that MySQL does not support official SQL merge statements. There is no particular command for it, but some database supports like Oracle, SQL Server, PostgreSQL, different styles, right? But MySQL only uses the same syntax again, which is on duplicate key update, which we are doing already, as it merge like solution. Okay. So if you say me that what's the particular command for using merge in MySQL, it is not there. So that's it. I wanted to give a heads up in there. Now let's try to look into it. What is merge? Okay. So merge is an advanced SQL operation that combines insert, second, update. There is third one also, which is sometimes delete. Okay, so these are the operations which are handled by the merge concept into one query. Into one query. Fine. Now let me do one thing. Let me write down the note again, which I just explained you earlier about the MySQL part. So important. MySQL does not support any official SQL merge statement, but some database support like Oracle, SQL Server means Microsoft SQL Server. Then third comes out to be PostgreSQL. Okay, but MySQL mainly uses the same syntax on duplicate key update. Okay, as its merge like solution. Okay, so I wanted this note to be present here. Okay, so now let's try to understand merge. Okay, merge understanding. Okay, suppose existing table. Okay, existing table. So it has employee ID, then name, then salary. Okay. Then there is a the data present is 1, 2. Suppose name is R, name is A, salary is 55 and something C, right? And then comes the incoming data, new incoming data, I mean. Okay. Now what happens? It also has employee ID, name, and salary. Fine. That is 1 and 3 employee ID, and it's a primary key. Please keep that in mind. It's suppose R and N and 6 and it's 55, and let it be 65. Okay. Now what happens to the desired result? Desired result, employee ID, name, and salary. The output column, basically, I would say. Oh, sorry, output table. It was 1 R5. It was 1 R65. So if we can see here, employee ID is same, name is same, the salary is updated here, right? To 65, 5 to 65. So what will happen in merge? 1 R and 65. The latest one will be updated automatically, as we saw in UPSERT also. Now 2 3 is there, 2 is A, 3 is N, 2 and 6, and this will be 55, right? So this becomes our output table, final result. So this is how an merge basically works. And now if you want to look into it, how like it is handled in MySQL, let's look at the practical. How MySQL handles it, merge. We're gonna write insert into employees. Suppose employee ID, comma name, comma salary, and then values 1, comma Rahul, comma 65, then 3, comma Neha, comma 55, correct? On duplicate key update. Okay, and we know the salary has been updated here, so salary equals to values as salary. Fine. And I will do control enter, and it gives a warning again, but we know that it has been entered. So select star from employees, and Rahul again is 65, Neha is 55. Now you might be thinking that you mentioned that merge handles three things: insert, update, and sometimes delete. But what I wanted to say here that in MySQL, specifically in MySQL, we don't have delete present in already present commands. So in MySQL, delete is usually done separately, and upsert is handled using the one which we did, right? So let me just point this thing out here. Note, MySQL does not support official merge, right? As we know. So delete is usually done separately. Second, upsert is handled using the same keyword or command on duplicate key update. Fine. So just for information, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you the example of how these merge queries are written in other, uh, what did we say, databases. Suppose in Oracle it is written like merge employees e using new data and on e dot employee id equals n dot employee id, right, when matched. So it becomes a very big query when we write it that way. So when it's matched and the salary s dot salary, if it is less than suppose 30, then delete. Otherwise when matched, then update set s dot salary equals to n dot salary. When not matched, suppose, then just insert columns, suppose, and the values, your value. Make sense? So this is a very long query, right? So this is used in Oracle and SQL Server. I just pulled down an example for your understanding how the merge is done here. Merge, okay. And if I try to give you the example of Postgres, suppose in PostgreSQL, it is written as, uh, let me copy this from here only. Paste it, okay. Here, instead of writing this particular thing, what they do is, I hope you can see my screen here. Yeah, they just remove this on conflict with the employee ID, then do update set salary equals to excluded dot salary. Okay, so this is how it is done in PostgreSQL. Okay, and this is how it is done in Oracle. Okay, so both of them in here. So I hope you understood the idea of merge and upset. It was a pretty advanced topic and a new topic for your people, and better for the upcoming data engineers if you're working for it. So this is all about merge and upset concepts, and I hope you understood the topic. So let's move ahead to the next topic. Thanks for watching this module, and check out the next video in the core playlist. Explore other related modules there as well. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.